Before I call this meeting to order, I would like the public to know that pursuant to the Governor's Executive Order N 2920, and in the interest of public health and safety, members of the Planning Commission and staff may attend the meeting telephonically. Further, orders from the San Diego County Health Officer prevent persons other than city officials and essential employees to be physically present. The public may view this meeting, submit comments on an item on this agenda, or submit a public comment through the Zoom webinar meeting. Please click on the Q&A icon in the Zoom meeting screen to submit the public comment. Public comments will be accepted until the conclusion of the public hearing on each item. Please make sure to include the item number and name in the comment. Comments will be limited to 300 words and will be entered into the official commission meeting record. Public comments are being accepted now. Please submit your comments as soon as possible. You do not need to wait until an item is called to submit a comment. Comments will be read during the meeting. Commissioners, if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand and wait to be recognized by the chair. Only one person may speak at a time. And now I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the flag salute in a moment of silence. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Mr. Shute, may we have roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So I will do my best to attempt to announce the roll. Mr. Circo?
Present.
Mr. Cabrera?
Present.
Mr. Sotile? Ms. Pollock-Rude? And Mr. Morose?
Present.
And may the record show that all Planning Commission members are present and participating in this virtual Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. Welcome to the El Cajon Planning Commission meeting. Appeals of final decisions made by the Planning Commission must be filed. Appeals of final. There we go. Starting the new year off right. Appeals of final decisions of the Planning Commission made this evening must be filed in writing with the city clerk before 5 p.m. Friday, January 15th, 2021, and must include the payment of a filing fee. Pursuant to City Council Resolution number 114-79, a commissioner who has received evidence related to a matter before the Planning Commission, other than an unescorted view of the subject property, is required to disclose such information at the hearing. Public comment. At this time, we'll take comments from any member of the public on any item of business within the jurisdiction of the commission that is not on the agenda. Under state law, no action can be taken on items brought forward under public comment, except to refer it to staff for administration or place it on a future agenda. Mr. Shute, do we have any public comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have one public comment that was submitted via email. And if you would allow, I will read this into the record.
Thank you.
This is from Stephanie Harper to planning. I believe that our city must be governed on fairness, understanding, and transparency. Without these things in place in all branches of our government, you as representatives are not doing your jobs. You have the power to make choices that will affect all the citizens in our city, and with that, you have great responsibilities placed upon your shoulders. We as a people put our trust in the decisions you will make, that they will be in our best interests and not your own. So when a person who sits among you is not upholding any of these qualities, it is your place to stand up and do something or to say something, but let them know that it's not how we do things in El Cajon. I am speaking, Mr. Cabrera. I believe that Mr. Cabrera is not a fair person. Although this is just my opinion, I base it on these facts. Mr. Cabrera did in fact lie to either the county tax assessor or to the register of voters. Either way, there was a big lie told to one of them, and that makes it hard for me to put my trust in someone like that to lead in big decisions for the city. I believe that it was in poor taste for Mr. Cabrera to phone me and tell me I should ask for a recount regarding the election, and told me that the only reason why he ran was to even out the playing field, so to speak. Mr. Cabrera made claims about other candidates that were not true, and to me, that is just old-fashioned mudslinging. I have heard rumors about Mr. Cabrera accepting contracts that will benefit his business while being on the Planning Commission, and even heard that he was asked to step down from his position on this committee by some citizens who after that were threatened for what they said. I don't know if any of the rumors are true, but it doesn't hold Mr. Cabrera in the best light. I truly hope that the committee will reevaluate and look at the things that Mr. Cabrera has been accused of or have found to be true. We need to keep the mudslinging and the dirt out of our politics in our city. El Cajon has enough to deal with, and we need solutions, not more problems. That is the end of public comments.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to the consent calendar. A single motion will cover all items on the consent calendar. Does the commission wish to pull any item from the consent calendar?
None.
Okay. Does the staff wish to pull any item from the consent calendar for discussion?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Then call for the motion.
Move to,
So move.
All right. Motion made by Commissioner Sotile, second by Commissioner Moroz. Roll vote, please.
Mr. Circo,
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera,
yes.
Mr. Sotile,
Yes.
Ms. Pollock-Rude,
Yes.
Mr. Moroz.
Yes.
Motion passes by unanimous vote.
Thank you, Mr. Shute. All right. We have one public hearing tonight. So agenda item number 2. This is a sign ordinance amendment. The request is to amend the sign ordinance to allow signs on city-owned property under certain criteria. This is CEQA exempt, and staff is recommend city council approval. Staff.
Mr. Chairman, just give you one moment here to get my screen shared. Okay. All right, Mr. Chairman, as you had indicated, this is a proposed sign ordinance amendment. Just a bit of background before I get started. The City Council initiated this back on June of 2020. At that time, the City Council directed staff to amend the sign ordinance to allow signs on city-owned property. So at its meeting on June 9th, 2020, city staff presented updated information related to the city's fiscal year 2021 budget and requested feedback to city staff on various proposals that could have a potential positive impact on the city's budget. The City Council agreed that an opportunity for a positive impact exists by constructing and leasing city signs on city property along I-8. And the City Council then directed staff to return with this proposed sign ordinance that would allow such signs. So just to be clear to the Planning Commission, the proposed sign ordinance amendment to allow city signs on city-owned property has no impact to existing billboard regulations. What's being proposed is only for city-owned signs on city property. Also, it allows for temporary use of the right-of-way by the city manager for short-term signs. I'll go a little bit more into that in a moment. So the proposed regulations. Again, as directed by the city council, could allow a city sign on city property for general advertising purposes. Before the city council could approve such a sign, the city council would have to consider factors as maximizing potential economic value of that property, generate revenue that could be put into the city's general fund, and also disseminate the city's own messages to the public, such as public service announcements and other messages, encouragement of economic activity in the city. These messages then would be could be put on these city signs to broadcast such messages, including commercial messages, to the general public. Such a sign, if it's near the freeway, and in fact, if it's within 660 feet of the freeway, would be subject to Caltrans rules. The other part of the regulations that are being proposed tonight are for signs in the city's right-of-way. Such signs would require city manager approval. They would only be for limited duration, up to 15 days. They could only be of non-commercial speech and would likely be more along the lines of informational or directional. So think about the city events like America on Main Street or Haunt Fest. Those kind of events that the city advertises, those kind of signs could be put in the right-of-way. Generally, those are the provisions. The details are included in your agenda packets. We can certainly go over those if you wish. Staff is available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Tony. One big question to start off with is what city property are we talking about? What does the city own?
So other than certain amounts of right-of-way, the city has reserved a specific location. City had the forethought a number of years ago to reserve property on the Mazda dealership. And if you give me a moment here, here we go. So you should be able to see this aerial, which shows the Mazda dealership site here at Johnson and the Johnson off-ramp heading east on I-8.
Yeah.
This area here, and if you can see my cursor moving, was reserved as part of the sale to the current property owner for city purposes.
Okay. The second question for you is the signs in the right-of-way. Would that be similar to how currently, if there's Haunt Fest or whatnot, there's a digital billboard that's placed, it's on a little trailer and it's placed on Magnolia or elsewhere like that? Or would it be something a little bit nicer than that?
Certainly. So the proposed regulations indicate that it's such signs would be subject to a city manager policy establishing criteria, but the basic criteria would be no more than 18 square feet and no more than 4 feet high, and could not obstruct view or cause a hazard in any way. So what we're thinking about are the banners that you normally see each year that advertise for Haunt Fest or America on Main Street. Private parties could do similar signs for a short duration, 15 days is the maximum, indicating such things like, so maybe the East County Chamber of Commerce were to have an advertising a pancake breakfast or something like that at at a park or at a church or a rec center, something like that.
Okay. Thank you. I saw Mr. Morose had his hand up. Do you have a question for staff?
Yes. So is that the only location currently that you have for signs? Is that little spot there at the Mazda dealership, or is there other spots in town?
Well, currently that's the location that would have probably the most potential at this point.
And would you guys be building like a clear channel type sign, like a billboard sign? Is that the plan?
I think the the parameters would be left to the city council. The expectation, though, would be a sign of substance of that nature. So if you think about the Toad of El Cajon sign,
Yeah.
that would be somewhere. That would be something we would start from. I think the expectation is that's where you would start from.
So because it's city owned, I noticed that there would be some restrictions on what would be allowed on that. Is that correct?
That's correct. As part of an agreement for an outside party to manage the sign, the types of messages would be limited as indicated in the proposed regulations.
Are you concerned that someone may come to you and say, well, we want you to let us lease the sign and we sell cannabis, and therefore, if you don't allow us our free speech, we're going to sue you? Have you vetted that out yet?
Yes, we have. And our city attorney, Barb Luck, deputy city attorney, can comment to that. But we do have those means under the law to dictate what type of commercial messages can be posted on a city's controlled sign, as well as what non-commercial messages could be posted.
Okay. And then are there other cities like San Diego, Chula Vista, anywhere else that own signs that are in the advertising business? I'm just
Well, currently National City has a sign along the I-5. Lemon Grove has recently approved a sign of similar nature. It just has not yet been constructed.
Okay.
There are other cities, primarily in Orange County and LA County, that have the similar type signs already in place. Buena Park is the one in Orange County that comes to mind.
So if you built that sign, what you're saying is if there was no demand for it, the city could use it for their own purposes, like Haunt Fest, America on Main Street. Remember to, lock your doors at night, whatever it is.
Sure. I think the strategy would be that we would put an RFP out and that we'd let the outdoor advertising world determine, what company, what businesses that could advertise. I'm sure we would, they would be the ones to ensure that there is a constant flow of business before they even build such a sign for the city.
Okay, so you would it's no different than if I owned a sign in my private, business, and Outdoor Clear Channel or somebody basically said, we're going to pay you $5,000 a month. Don't worry about it. We'll keep it filled. Is that what I'm hearing?
You could say it's similar along those lines.
Okay. Thanks. All right. Appreciate it, Tony. Thank you.
I saw Mr. Cabrera had his hand up.
I think Commissioner Moroz makes a good point. I believe it was section 4B3, and I just kind of want to expound on what he was alluding to. We have alcohol, cannabis, tobacco, and other such items. Does that include the vaping as well? Within that kind of genre?
That would fall under the tobacco related products.
That's correct.
And it doesn't look like there's any ADA restrictions in that area. Is there anything that we have to worry about there, getting around it or anything?
Well, no, sir, I don't believe so. The subject property is being built as it stands now for the Mazda dealership, subject to ADA standards. There is an easement for city access, 15 feet wide, so there's more than enough room for staff and anybody else to get to that property.
Thank you.
All right. I saw Mr. Sotile had his hand up.
Yes. I believe I heard you say that there's going to be a third party that's going to be handling the management of the signs. Is that correct, Mr. Shute?
That's correct. The expectation would be that if the city council adopts this ordinance, that an RFP would be sent out and an agreement then would be developed and approved, subject to approval by the city council.
Okay. And also maybe this question is for Barbara Luck, insofar as restricting what kind of speech can be on these signs. Would it infringe upon the First Amendment right? And is the city opening itself up to a potential First Amendment freedom of speech lawsuit?
Well, I'm going to do the lawyer thing and say you can never rule out a challenge. But in this case, because it's city-owned property, and because city-owned property that's opened up for commercial and limited non-commercial advertising is not a public forum under the First Amendment. And the US Supreme Court case, Lehman v. Shaker Heights, says that the managerial decision, that would be on the part of the city, to limit the space to innocuous and less controversial commercial and service-oriented advertising does not rise to the dignity of a First Amendment violation. And that's the US Supreme Court. And then that sort of general holding was later upheld in Children of the Rosary versus City of Phoenix in the California, the Ninth Circuit Federal Court, where it said the city has not opened a public forum. So it's not your corner, park where you can pretty much say anything you want as long as you don't incite violence. The city has consistently restricted political and religious advertising. Under its prior policy, the city did accept some non-commercial advertising as public service announcements. So the fact that it's a very limited, it's not billboards all over the place. It's a very limited forum, and the city has indicated in its sign ordinance that it desires to limit speech in a certain way. And if you recall, you don't see any advertisements for cigarettes in certain magazines, because the forum, the public forum, you can say we won't accept that as long as it's not too much of a restriction on free speech. And it's been upheld that in a case like this, it's not. Anyone have a question?
Yeah, and so far as for example, what Commissioner Rose mentioned, the cannabis industry wants to assign advertising their store or whatever. Could that be a potential problem for the city?
No, not for the city, because it's not a public forum like a commercial billboard would be, or like a city park would be, or someplace else that's been opened up to almost any form of speech. It hasn't been opened up, and it's not considered. The Supreme Court and our local federal circuit court says it's not a public forum, so it's not subject to First Amendment restrictions.
You can't restrict somebody's freedom of speech when you're already limiting who can speak from the location.
Not sure. The thing is, we can limit both the commercial and the service announcements because it's city-owned property. And the court, the High Court, the Supreme Court has said that's not subject to the dignity of full First Amendment protection for speech. We can put reasonable limitations on what goes on the city-owned sign. Again, anybody could challenge that, but it's been done. Mr. Shute tells me it's been done in several places already in California with a lot of success, and that bodes well.
And you mentioned, would you say the Lady of the Rosary versus the City of Phoenix?
Children of the Rosary versus City of Phoenix, yeah.
What is I don't know that case at all. Can you enlighten me a
It
little bit?
involved a city's transit bus had cards that were on the side of the bus, and they a anti-abortion group paid to have an anti-abortion sign put on these cards, and the city of Phoenix removed it, and the removal was upheld because while, and this is the way I explained it this morning, while you can say that a church is having a pancake breakfast on such and such a day, you can't say ban abortion, because that's a bias, that's controversial. The same with the commercial speech. The cannabis is in alcohol, that's controversial because we don't allow dispensaries, and we would be probably within the protections of a non-public forum if we were to say we won't accept alcohol, tobacco, or cannabis advertising, as long as we're consistent. Consistency seems to be the key here.
All right.
Any questions? It's the same thing if you were a candidate for political office and tried to buy space on the city sign. You wouldn't be allowed to do that either. It's the same thing as not having your picture taken with the fire chief because it gives the wrong impression. It seems like they're being that the city is endorsing that candidate, and that's not allowed under state law. So you could have a political message, but it wouldn't be something that would seem to be biased. Does that make sense?
I can't think of a political opinion which is not biased at this point in time.
Well, I think if I might add, Mr. Chairman, I think what Barbara's saying and including court decisions from the Supreme Court to the Ninth Circuit Court, that because it's a city-owned sign, it is, the city can regulate the type of speech. It can regulate, it could limit commercial speech, and it can limit non-commercial speech. The city has that authority because they control the venue, and it's limited only to a city sign.
And it has to be reasonable and consistent.
Yeah.
That's all. It doesn't.
And we have structured this ordinance in a way to ensure that based on past court decisions that we are within those bounds that the court has said cities can limit the type of signage on their signs.
One more question, Mr. Shute, if I may.
Yeah.
Are there any concerns regarding commercial billboard companies feeling that the city is in competition with them insofar as signage is concerned? That they're feeling that that you're taking business away from them? Or the city is taking business away from them?
Well, I guess I'll let Barb answer as well, but generally I guess they could, but there are provisions in our code that already allow for private billboards to be located throughout the city. And there are about 35 billboards in the city today. And they're allowed in certain commercial corridors across the city.
I think I understand what Commissioner Sotile is saying is when you have the open market in the commercial billboards, obviously it's driven by market pricing. Pricing's pretty much the same. Will the city, apply to those same standards? I mean, what's to stop the city from saying, hey, let's lower our price by $2,000 because we're the city, we're not a business, we're paid by the taxpayers. What's to stop that? How do we keep the competition equal, I guess is the question.
Well, I think the city, based on the language in the proposed ordinance, the city wants to maximize the value of its property with a city sign. So I think that ensures that there is a level playing field in the market. I think it's the city's position because of the location and the type of sign that it can capture some of the market at the prices that the market has determined. I don't think the city would ever want to get, attract
Right.
lower prices. The city wants to maximize revenue to the greatest extent possible.
And
That brings up a good
I'm sorry.
question. How much does the city think that this will bring in? I know the planning commission doesn't deal with property values, but this is, I think, pertinent to the discussion.
Sure. Well, based on most recent, and I'm using Lemon Grove as an example, there's a potential range of an annual revenue between 200,000 to 300,000.
One sign or for multiple signs?
Pardon me?
Not just for that location.
For that location, that one sign could generate between 200,000 to 300,000 annually.
Okay.
Seems quite a bit to me.
Significant.
That's a significant amount. Yeah. Well,
A lot of the static billboards generate between 5 and 10 and, a month. So the outdoor advertising business is quite lucrative.
so I understand the city's concern regarding the budget and also wanting for a revenue, but that the city of El Cajon would not be burdened. But also have a concern in which government is in competition with private enterprise. And I think the government should not be in competition with private enterprise because government has the right to make rules and regulations and codes and so forth to benefit them, where not necessarily so for a private enterprise. That's my concern is the line here. Where do we draw the line where the city of El Cajon is in competition with private enterprise? And in many cases, and private enterprise is not going to win when it's in competition with government. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I believe you are. I believe I do. However, just to note that there are already regulations that allow for the private sector to put up billboards within the city. And those billboards could be of a digital nature. They're static now, but I'm sure as the times change that they will change over to digital.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions from the commission? All right. It looks like we've got an additional attendee, so we can open it up for the public hearing. Did we get any comments for this?
No, sir. No, Mr. Chairman, there are no comments.
Okay. And it looks like it is one of our newest city council members in attendance, Michelle Metzel. If she has nothing to comment on this, then I move to close the public hearing.
Second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Circo, seconded by Commissioner Cabrera. Please vote. Oh, roll vote. Excuse me.
Mr. Circo?
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. Cabrera?
Yes.
Mr. Sotile?
Yes.
Mr. Moroz?
Yes.
Ms. Pollock-Rude?
Yes.
All right, the public hearing is now closed. I think the main discussion points for the commission are the opportunities, the conflicts, if there are any, with the public and private enterprise, and adjusting the sign ordinance opens up possibilities for other signs like this in the future on city-owned property. But the city-owned property is fairly limited in scope. I don't think we're going to get another billboard on the city hall property, the Civic Center. And I really doubt we're going to put a billboard over on the maintenance yard. So this is fairly focused on one particular area. Any discussion? All right. Oh, looks like Commissioner Pogrom is having issues.
I'm monitoring her. I see her in the chat.
Okay, thank you. All right, call for a motion.
I would like to move to adopt the resolution recommending approval of the zoning code amendment, allowing the signs on city-owned property.
I will second that motion. Let's have a roll vote.
Mr. Circo,
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera,
Yes.
Mr. Sotile,
Yes.
Mr. Morose,
Yes.
Ms. Pollock-Rude?
Yes.
Okay, one. Okay. That proposed ordinance amendment and recommendation city council passes by unanimous vote.
All right, this is going to City Council on January 26th, 2021. And I don't know that anyone present wishes to make an appeal, but if an appeal were to be made, it would need to be done so in writing by Friday. Let's get the right Friday. It's Friday, January 15th, 2021. All right. That's the only item we have on our agenda tonight. Any updates or further items?
I didn't come with any but if there are any questions that the planning commission might have, I'd do my best to answer.
When are we scheduled to have an in-person meeting?
I can't tell you that. I could only guess that it might be some months away still.
Okay.
All right. If there are no communications or reports, then I will move to adjourn this meeting to January 19th, 2021 at 7 p.m.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Commissioner Circo, seconded by Commissioner Rose. Roll vote, please.
Mr. Circo,
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera,
Aye.
Mr. Sotile,
Yes.
Mr. Morose,
Yes.
Ms. Pollock-Rude,
Yes.
passes by unanimous vote.
All right, we are adjourned. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.